Dragilor, episodul de astăzi din Tihnă Digitală e unul cu adevărat special pentru mine. Odată pentru că e primul episod în limba engleză și, în al doilea rând, pentru că e un episod cu un om pe care îl admir foarte, foarte mult pentru energia lui. Așa că vă anunț de acum că o să trecem la limba engleză, inclusiv cu introducerea. O să avem și subtitrări în caz că e nevoie de ele. Și sper din suflet să vă bucurați de entuziasmul pe care îl aduce invitatul meu din episodul de azi. So, this episode is a special one, not just because it's the first ever episode of the podcast in English, but because I get to have a conversation with someone who's deeply shaped the way I see coaching, transformation, and also human connection. Coach Dave Buck is the CEO of Coachville. This is the school that I've been in since 2022, and he is a pioneer in the coaching world. His story is wild and inspiring, from living in his car and coaching people for free at Landmark to becoming one of the most influential figures in the history of professional coaching. Yes, even ranking one spot above the famous Tony Robbins. So, in this episode, we talk about real human connection in a digital world, about why so many of us feel lonely even though we're constantly online. We talk about why fear shows up when we're trying to express ourselves, about how practice and not theory creates transformation, and about how we can get our power back and coach others to do the same. You'll also hear why Dave believes that coaching is not just a profession, but it's a ripple effect of care, and why human connection is like a strawberry and not a lump of sugar. So I hope I caught your attention, and let's dive deep into the discussion I had with Coach Dave Buck. Salutare, dragilor! Sunt Alexandra Ciucanu și ascultați Tihnă Digitală. So, Coach Dave, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to have a conversation with you in my first ever episode in English of the podcast.
Amazing. I am very excited to walk into this new territory with you.
Thank you very much. It's exciting, a bit scary, but I have the right person next to me for such an experience. So I'm very happy to have you.
Very nice of you to say. Yes, very excited.
So before going into the topic that I wanted to discuss with you today, I'd like us to know a bit about your story. I know that you have worked with Thomas Leonard, the founding father of professional life and business coaching. You founded together Coachville back in 2000. And my research also told me that you have been named the 7th most influential person in the history of professional coaching in 2008.
That's correct.
Big. So I'm curious.
That is pretty big. One spot ahead of Tony Robbins. Yes.
Woohoo. Okay. Nice. Very nice.
Very nice. Yes.
So what I'm curious about is, how did you get to become Coach Dave? What's the backstory?
That's a heck of a story. Well, thank you for asking me that. All right. I will try to give you the short version of this story, because it could be a very long and windy story. But all right, so there's a few highlights of my story. So I like to describe that my life is a coaching masterclass. So I have been around coaching since I was a child because my mother was a coach. My mother was a music coach. She coached piano and voice, and her music studio was in our home, and it was right underneath my bedroom. So when I was in my little room in the house, there was all this coaching happening right under my feet. So I was hearing my mom coaching from the time I was very small. So I grew up around coaching, and then I've always been kind of a quirky human into both performance arts and athletics. So I always had coaches in the different things I was doing. And then I started coaching soccer, which you call football in Europe. I started coaching soccer when I was 14 years old. So I just was drawn to the game, and then I started coaching some younger kids, and just was coaching soccer from as a teenager. So I've always kind of been around coaching. And then in my 20s, I got into the personal growth movement, started going to all these seminars and reading all kind of books and things of that nature. And that led me to participating in the programs at Landmark Education. And so Landmark Education is a transformational company. And so I started going to all these seminars, and then this kind of interesting thing happened in my life where my business went bankrupt. And I also got divorced from my wife along with the bankruptcy. So then I got a job and I got fired. So I was living in my car. Okay. And the thing that was awesome about Landmark was if you volunteered as a coach for the group that was doing a program you had done, you could do it for free. So since I had no money, this was an awesome solution. So I was like just coaching all these programs at Landmark because it was free if you volunteered as a coach. So I was living in my car, I was doing all these programs at Landmark, and I just basically put myself in this transformational, how you might call it, a transformational fish tank, right? So I was just really in the soup of transformation. And I had a lot of time because I didn't have a job. So I was reading lots of books and doing all these seminars. And so that's basically how I really became this coach in the personal growth movement. And then, and this is the thing that's magical about life is that, so I was participating in Landmark, and there was, and then I used what I was learning and who I was becoming, and I transformed this into an amazing consulting gig where I was making over $100,000. So I went from living in my car, having no money, to making $100,000, which was a lot of money in the 80s. And so then a friend of mine from Landmark, I was at his house one day, and he says, "Dave, I just heard about this new thing called life coaching. You should do it." This is how it happened. This was in 1996. Like, "Dave, there's this new thing, life coaching. You should do it. You'd be awesome." This is what he said to me. I'm like, "Life coaching? What the heck is life coaching?" So they had a website. I was a tech nerd, so I went online. I had my modem at home, and I went on the internet and looked up this life coaching thing. And I'm like, yes, this is me. So I signed up the next day and started my journey. And that was the school was called Coach U, which was the first school started by Thomas Leonard. So, and what happened was, because I had been on this amazing path of transformation and manifested this incredible life and job or not job, but business and income stream. So I did, what it seemed to be the right thing. I just called up everybody I knew and said, "Hey, I'm a life coach now. You should hire me." That was basically what I did. And then I would say, "How I was living in my car a couple years ago?" They're like, "Yeah, well, now I have this amazing life and this amazing consulting gig, and I'm coaching. And, if you want some help manifesting your ideal life, you should hire me." And a lot of people did. So I just started coaching a lot of people based on my own transformational story, even though as a life coach, I literally had no idea what I was doing. So, I was taking the classes, but the classes were not that good, to be honest. So I really was just trying to figure it out for myself. But when you have a lot of clients, you figure it out. And so that was happening. Now, the last piece of the story, how I really became Coach Dave, was I was coaching all these people, and I was in the teleclasses at Coach U, and one day the instructor says, "All right, we're going to go around the room, and I want everyone to say, how many clients they have. So everyone is kind of speaking up in turn. Oh, I have one client. I have 2 pro bono clients. Oh, I don't have any clients yet. Oh, I don't have any clients yet. Oh, I have one client. It goes around and I said, I have 20. Am I doing something wrong? I was like, well, this is weird. I have more than the whole rest of the class combined. So then everyone in the class started calling me up to find out, how did I get all these clients? What was I doing? And then word traveled to Thomas Leonard that there's this guy, Dave Buck, and he's got all these clients. And then that was a whole other crazy story, the way I became personal friends with Thomas Leonard. That I won't get into that story right now. It's a fascinating story. But the point is, I was coaching a lot of people. I became the coach of coaches who wanted to grow their business. And that's really how the coach Dave, then I became friends with Thomas Leonard, and Thomas Leonard started recommending people to hire me. And then that's just went like that.
That's an amazing story. It's an amazing one. People won't see my face while I was listening to you, but my eyes went big, and then they went bigger, and I was like, oh, wow, oh.
But yeah, personal transformation is very compelling. So, I mean, I literally was living in my car, but I was in a community of transformation. And that's really a big aha, is that transformation typically happens in community. Like it's the power of belonging is a catalyst of transformation. And coaching as well, because the thing that was happening at that community was there was a lot of coaching. It wasn't professional coaching, but it was like informal coaching that was happening a lot in that environment. So I had a lot of coaches. I was coaching people as well, informally. And that's how my transformation really happened.
It's been almost 30 years since you first met with the idea of life coaching. And I'm really curious because your energy is absolutely contagious. How do you manage to keep your energy and passion alive through all these years?
That's a very interesting question. Great coaching question, Alexandra. Well done. I can see you definitely learned some awesome skills. I love that. Well done. Wow. So there's 2 sides of that story. In most human qualities, there's 2 sides. There's what in English we call it the nature and the nurture. All right. So there's like inherent qualities within us, and then there's nurturing it through practice. Okay. So this leads me to another little story. So one time I was talking with Thomas, and he said, Dave, you know what one of your best qualities is? And it's like, what a question. I'm like, I don't know. What do you think is one of my best qualities? And he says, it's your enthusiasm for life. And I said, what do you mean? Isn't everybody enthusiastic about life? And he said, no. He did just what you did. He was just shaking his head. No, what are you talking about? So part of it is my nature is I just have this loving life kind of energy, but it's also through practice. And the practice is, it's kind of on point with your topic about inner peace, which is, peace is, there's 2 ways you can look at peace. You could look at peace like stillness, like nothing is happening, but you could also look at peace as absence of conflict, where there's a natural flow of energy. So I've put a lot of energy in my life into orchestrating my life to fit me. So what does that mean? My life to fit me? Well, there's different ways you could think about it, but I've kind of honed in on these 3 things, which is freedom, friendship, and purpose. So, and you have to find your right balance. Some people need more friends. Some people need more freedom. Some people need more purpose. You find your right blend of those three things. And if you find your good balance of freedom and friendship and connection and love and purpose and loving what you're doing, if you find your right balance of those things, you have peace because your energy is just flowing naturally from your human nature out into the world. And so I've put a lot of energy into maintaining that flow of my life energy so that if something comes into my life that starts blocking my flow, often it's very difficult to have a conversation or make a change or leave something behind. But I always choose to organize my life for that kind of flow. So that's how my enthusiasm has stayed flowing. That's the nurture or the practice part.
That sounds great, and it's like a small recipe for having flow in our lives, just to make sure
Yes.
that we nurture these three areas and that we put energy and work into them.
Yeah, and find the balance because we all need all three. Humans are born for freedom, friendship, and purpose. That's our nature. So but everyone has their unique balance. Like I said, you can have freedom and you can have friends, but those two things kind of, freedom is doing what you want to do and friends is doing what other people want to do sometimes. So you have to find your balance of like do your own thing or co-create with others, and then connecting that to your purpose of what do you really want to do in life. And when you're doing what you really want to do in life, your energy flows into, freedom and friendship as well. So that's the magic, but it does take, commitment and being willing sometimes to make difficult choices, that sort of thing. But that's the nature of living what is called a purposeful life is to make those kind of choices.
And for me, it's clear that your life's purpose is definitely coaching, as in you have
Yes.
touched so many lives with this. And
For sure.
you founded Coachville back in 2000 in the US, and then
Yes.
you've launched it in several other countries, have had students
Yes.
from all over the globe. I myself have met in the 2.5 years since I've joined Coachville, people from basically a lot of countries. I couldn't
A lot
count
of
them,
countries.
but
Yeah.
there have been quite a few. And
Yes.
my question here is, do you see any difference in how coaching is being perceived depending on the culture that people have or the country that they come from?
Yeah, I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that it is. Let's see. So on the one hand, different cultures, yes, I'd say different cultures perceive coaching in different ways, for sure. And, like my partner in Czech Republic, Alesh, who's an amazing coach, and he says, all the people in the Czech Republic, they don't respect coaches. Like they think coaching is not, of value, but yet lots of people want to have a coach. So it's it's this sort of strange conflict between they don't respect it, but they still want one, right? So it's kind of a strange thing. In the US, that's what it was like maybe 20 years ago. But now in the US, it's become more normalized. People understand coaching better. So I think there's those kind of things. But the thing is, coaching just is what it is. Coaching is a practice of guiding practice. I mean, that's what coaching really is. When you're coaching someone, you're practicing with them. You're practicing skills. And people all around the world want their human connection skills back. Like people want their skills. We all kind of know in our inner being that we've got something inside of us that wants to come out, but that requires skill. And coaching is guiding practice of skills. That's what it is. So, and ultimately, in some ways, I think we're fortunate because people understand what a coach is from For example, the Olympics. You know, people all around the world watch Olympics, whether it's Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics, like almost every human is aware of this thing called Olympics. And when you watch Olympics, all the athletes always thank their coach when they win a medal, right? Oh, I want to thank my coach. Well, so everyone knows that coaches and athletes go together because the coach guides the practice. Like, okay, if you want to be an Olympian, you got to practice a lot. And the coach is guiding practice, challenging, supporting, so the person can be the best athlete they can be. So people all around the world know what a coach is. So what they just don't know is that you can have a coach for your life skills. That's the only thing they don't know. So once we reconnect coaching to these fundamental skills that people all want, I think the level of respect and understanding of life coaching will grow. I think what happened, to be honest, 30 years ago when we started life coaching, it kind of became like this little bit of a mashup of like light positive therapy, project management, like, oh, I'm going to talk with you about your troubles, and then we're going to come up with your action plan, and I'm going to hold you accountable for your actions. So it was like this little blend of light therapy, positive therapy, and project management. But that was missing the core of coaching, which is practice. We weren't guiding practice. We were just talking about stuff. So I think the perception of coaching went a little bit off the rails. Now, people like me who came from athletics and performance arts, I always knew something's missing from this coaching. We're just talking about stuff. It's like if you have a tennis coach and you go for tennis coaching, you don't expect to just sit by the court and talk about tennis for an hour. You expect to get on the court and practice tennis. Like, get out there and play tennis. That's the only way you're going to get better. So I've been gradually weaving the idea of practice back into the field of coaching. And I think that's why our school is blossoming the way it is because it matches people understanding like, yeah, I need practice and I want practice. And if you ever have a Coachville coach, you know you're going to practice. You're going to practice pivotal moments. You're going to practice peak experiences. You're going to practice role plays. You're going to practice. And that's what creates the transformation is the practice.
And what I find very interesting when it comes to the Coachville philosophy is that we're not talking in project management terms. As in, we're not talking about tasks and objectives and milestones necessarily and other terms that definitely connect to the corporate world and so on. But we're talking about play quite a lot. So the clients are players, we are playing for the dreams and so on. How did you manage to build this playful language when it comes to the whole concept behind what coaching is inside Coachville?
Well, that's a good question. So it's a couple of things. So after Thomas Leonard died in 2003, I was really needing a new coach. Like, I got to find a coach, right? So I fortunately, around that time, a little bit after Thomas died, I was invited to become a founding member of the Transformational Leadership Council with Jack Canfield and a lot of the luminaries of the transformational movement. I was very honored to be invited. So at the first meeting I attended, I met this fellow who was also a member, Marshall Thurber. And Marshall is like, he's one of the OGs of the personal transformation movement. Just an amazing guy. So I'm like, that's going to be my guy. So I hired Marshall. And Marshall had this particular philosophy that whatever you're going to do in life, you need a method. Okay. And every coaching session, he would say, Dave, what's your method of coaching? And I would say, I don't know. You talk about some goals and some problems and you figure out a task list. He would say, that's not a method. That's just a bunch of stuff. So he said to me, Dave, I'm going to give you 1 month to figure out your coaching method. I was like, whoa, 1 month, crap. So he's a great coach. He challenged me to create And so I started really thinking, what is my coaching method? And that's when I really honed in, like, you know what? I know what my coaching method is. My coaching method is helping a person play better. That's my coaching method. Like, oh, how do we play? What are the actions? What are the skills we need? How do we practice those skills to play better? Like it just suddenly clicked because he put this thing in my mind that I needed a method. So he didn't force me, but he really strongly invited me to figure out my method. And that's how I did it. And I got so excited. But this is actually a funny story. I got so excited. I'm like, yes, it's all about play. I see the light. So I created this method. Originally, it was called Play to Win because I was still kind of a little immersed in athleticism. Later, it became Play Life, which was much better, not only for athletics, but arts and adventure. And, Play Life was a more open-ended, but that took a few years. So at first I had this Play to Win. So I'm like, this is awesome. So I made a plan to travel all around the US to 20 cities and give a talk about the Play to Win method. And we're going to bring play back into coaching. So I went and I booked all these talks, and a bunch of people came, and I was giving this talk, and people were looking at me like I was crazy. like, play? Dave, what are you talking about? This is serious out here, man. We got problems. It's like, you can't talk about play. So what I realized from those 20 talks was I really need to refine my message because it was a few people really clicked. I'm like, yeah, finally, that makes sense. It's play. But like it was a high percentage, did not resonate at all with my message. So I'm like, all right, the world's not quite ready for play yet. But then an awesome thing happened. Video games all of a sudden became this massive thing. And Jane McGonigal gave this TED Talk that millions of people watched this TED Talk, and it was about how you can become a better person by playing video games. And it's like you learn essential skills of life by playing these multiplayer games with other people, and people are developing skills of collaboration and coordination. I was like, man, she's getting people all fired up to play video games. Well, this amazing world around us is the most incredible video game ever invented. Like this thing here is the game. You don't have to go on your computer. Like this is the game. It's here. So I had something tangible I could talk to people about. It's like, how hundreds of millions of people are playing video games? And I said, well, what if this is a video game? Like this is an adventure game. You wake up in the morning and you can play if you want to. It's a human connection adventure game. All the people around are player characters in your game. You can have a mission or a purpose. You can earn points by developing your skills and doing things. And it suddenly started clicking with people like, oh, yeah, I could see this could be like a game in a way. And then that's when it finally clicked. That was by pure luck that Jane McGonigal did this epic TED Talk, but that's when it really started. And it clicked for me too, because when I could say this world is a game system, art imitates life. The art of the video game, where do people get ideas for art? From life. Like art always imitates life. So if you can see a game on a screen and it's this world and there's adventures in there, like they came up with that idea because this is a world that we're in of adventure. So that's when it really took off. That was and maybe it was just time, it's time. This time had come that it was, and the right idea at the right time. So then that's when my life at Coachville took a huge leap forward. And suddenly people could understand, oh, this is a big adventure game. I need skills. And then that's when it really took off.
For me, these the way you word things when it comes to the coaching methods that we have inside Coachville. How do you look things to see the adventure and to choose the adventure every day? Or how do we look at life as a treasure map? And every choice that we make unravels another road that we can take, and we see the next level and the next level and so on. And the idea of playing for the dreams, it's not easy to resonate with them from the first try. But once they get to you and you get into that mindset shift and say, okay, but this could be quite fun. What if I look at them from another perspective? And I've seen this with my coaching players. We call them players, but clients for the people who are not yet used to the idea. And usually in the first coaching session that we have, of course, I go for okay, what's the dream that you want to play for in our 12 sessions together? And the first reaction that I get, and I'm convinced that you've got it as well for quite some time, is I don't have any dreams. I'm just going day by day and doing things on autopilot maybe sometimes. I cannot dream. And by the end of the first session, this early on, it shifts and they realize, oh, but I can dream. I did have some long past dreams that I forgot completely about, and I can bring them back and see what I can do about them. And it's amazing.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, it's such a great story. Thank you for telling me that. It is. It's true. You know, I have found this as well. And I didn't quite have the language right when I did my tour. That's why it didn't go so well, because I didn't have the right words to talk about it so that by the end of my talk, people could see that they had a dream. It wasn't there yet. But that's why you go on tour. You go on tour to figure it out, right? But you have to take your lumps on the road. It's like, that didn't go so well, dang, right? But it did eventually come together through all the amazing students at Coachville being willing to give it a try and being willing to talk about it with people and have people say, that didn't really work. Or then folks like you would say, at first they didn't get it, but by the end of the hour, whoa, it clicked. And then they got so excited, and then their energy. And so that really speaks to a couple important things about coaching. Coaching is really two things. It's skill set and mindset. It's both of those things. When someone has you as their coach, they want new skills, but they also need new mindset, because the only way you can do something new is to develop new beliefs, new perspectives. It's the only way. You can't do something new with the mind you already have. It's not possible. Right? Because you have to get new thoughts and beliefs and ideas and concepts into your mind in order to do something new. So that's coaching, is the mindset and the skill set. So that's why, in class we talk about, okay, at first people are going to resist the idea of dream and the idea of play, but the only way you can coach them to do something new is to change their mind. It's the only way. So you just be persistent, knowing that if you keep using the language and keep helping them see it, that eventually it will click, because it does. Because the idea of playing our dreams, it's in our human nature. It's not a foreign concept. It's in us, but we just need to see it again and be reminded that it's in there. Then it really blossoms from there.
And I completely resonate with this. And I can tell you from my own experience, being a student at Coachville, that I came in for the skill set. As in, I came in just to learn how to ask better questions, because
That's right.
My clients were coming to me for the skill set initially. So I'm a communication consultant. I teach people how to work their Instagram accounts, and they were coming to me to learn how to push the buttons in Instagram. And that was fine until the moment I realized that pushing the buttons in Instagram is not the only thing that they need, because they learned how to do that, but they were still stuck. And I thought, okay, maybe that's something more behind that. And it was the mindset. They got the skill set, but I was lacking the idea of mindset and how I can work with that. So that got me into coaching, so that we can push buttons both, as I like to say it, we push buttons in the apps, but we push buttons on the inside, so that we have...
That's such a good metaphor. I love it. You're a genius.
Thank you.
You got to push the buttons on the inside. That's so
Yeah,
good. Whoa, I
exactly.
like that. That's clever.
So I fully resonate with the fact that learning a new skill is nothing if you don't change the mindset behind and also put it into practice as we do in
Correct.
school as well. So
That's right.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
both. If they ride together, you need both. If you just like I used to do all these things in the personal transformation movement, and it was like, oh, you just have your mantras and you just keep saying them. But if you don't practice the skills, nothing's going to happen, right? You need both. It's mindset and skill set. They ride together. You can't ride only one or the other. Like you said, if you only have skills, no mindset, not going to work. Only mindset, no skills, not going to work. You need both. They have to ride together. And that's the parallel track of coaching for sure. And the other thing is, like, an interesting part of my journey over the last few years, as you know, as a Coachville student, we do a lot of practicing around exploring fear. Like, that's a big thing because we have such a toxic culture all around the world. It's so toxic that by the time we hit 7 years old, we are just full of fear. We're afraid to play. We're afraid to express ourselves. We're afraid to have our own dreams. We're put under control. We're put into obedience. We're neglected. I mean, it's bad out there. So people have a lot of fear. And it's understandable. We absorb fear from the culture. We're not born with fear. Fear comes from the outside in. But once it gets in you, it's in you. And so I did like a decade-long deep dive into fear and helping people understand their fear, which was very valuable. But what I've discovered in the last 5-6 years, and it's really accelerated, is that the main reason people are afraid is because they're trying to do things and they don't have the skills. Like, if you try to do something and you don't have the skill, you're going to be afraid. You're going to be afraid to screw up. You're going to be afraid to make a fool of yourself. You're going to be afraid to get it wrong. You're going to have a lot of fear. So most of our fear comes from lack of skill. So the fastest way to help someone with their fear is not to try to address the fear. You just figure out what is the skill they are missing, help them practice that skill, and the fear disappears. So there's a magic to skills practice. And then once you have the skills, if you still face some fear, then that's going to be a deeper fear that you do need to know how to deep dive on and find the source of it and come to an inner knowing about where your fear is coming from. So there is value to the deep diving fear, but it's only like 10% of the time. 90% of the time, if you have a fear, you just are missing the skill. And all you have to do is practice that skill a bunch of times. And then it's like, oh, I can do this. I feel confident. I feel good. So coaching, it's a beautiful thing. If you help someone practice their skills and most of their fears disappear, and then they can make progress. And then if they really bump a big fear, then you know what to do with the fear deep diving and the inner freedom. So as a coach, you need that skill set of understanding fear. But most of the time, if you can just help someone practice, most of the fears can disappear.
Again, I can back up this with personal stories of me.
Please do.
So when I came into Coachville, I was in a new team in the company that I work in, and I was really shy in speaking up. I felt I couldn't understand things, were too technical for me, and I was just really backing up, putting myself in a small box, not coming out of there at all. And I started coaching. For the people that don't know, in Coachville, we have 2 hours of class every week, and 1 hour is theory, but we also talk about that theory. So it's not just the coach lead that comes in and puts the theory on the table and we do whatever with it. We go into deep dives. And then we have an hour of practice with a partner. And I practiced a lot in my first class, which was transformational coaching. And by the end of the class, I got a feedback from my manager that she felt she had worked with two different people during that year. A person that was really shy and didn't speak up and only did what she was told, and another person that came up with ideas and was really bubbly and really enthusiastic about all the things that she wanted to do and so on. And that was due to coaching, because
So you were the bubbly one?
I was the bubbly one.
Yes, great success.
Yes, because I had the chance to practice all sorts of situations. Me speaking up in a meeting with very high stake people, or me speaking up my ideas to some very technical people, and my ideas were really playful, but that was my role. I'm a communication person in a technical team, so I need to be playful. And practicing that on a weekly basis for 3 months got me to actually do it more easily, because I got the skills.
That's right. 100%. Yes. You are the perfect success story for practice.
Yeah. So I love it. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you've got it. You totally nailed it. And now this is the beauty of coaching, because you have such a good story of personal transformation. When you share that story, people are going to say, wait, I'm the one who's shy in the corner. I need those skills. And they're going to call you up and for coaching, because they want the skills you have now. That's coaching. Coaching is such a beautiful human thing, because that's the human way. The human way is we develop skills by practicing with someone who's a little ahead of us, and then we pass it on to the people who want to learn them from us. It's a beautiful human ripple effect. This is how skills work. It's been working like this for 1,000,000 years. This is how humans work. But in coaching, we just formalize the process and make it a little more structured. And also, we need it because the way things happen in our culture, it's so toxic and industrialized, and everyone just is told, no, just do your own thing. Don't bother anyone. Just follow the instructions. So we lost our natural way of connecting, co-creating, caring for each other. That was squashed out of us, but it's in our nature. So that's why we need the opportunity to practice in a safe space. And that's what we do at Coachville. And that's what then our coaches pass that on. They create a safe space of practice for their players. And this is how we can uplift humanity again to this culture of co-creation and care, which is our natural human way. But we won't get there unless we have pathways for practice.
And I can totally relate, because while you were speaking, in my mind was that another magical thing that coaching does is this idea of co-creating, because we got into the idea that we need to do everything by ourselves, and you cannot do everything by yourself, and you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. No.
And when you have a partner that builds, exactly as you were saying, builds that safe space where you say, okay, here I am allowed to dream, here I am allowed to consider that I am worthy of my dreams. And I think that's a very powerful thing that we do in coaching. And here I'm allowed to co-create and bounce ideas with someone and speak my mind. And what I've heard, and it sounded beautifully from one of my players, was that it's the first time in quite a while when I can actually hear myself speak and process what I'm saying. And it was,
that's beautiful.
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's beautiful. It's a co-creation and collective care. It's such a beautiful and powerful thing. And with practice, we can get really good at it. And then we can pass it on. I mean, that's our new tagline at Coachville is get your power back, and then coach others to get their power back. Like, that's the pathway. And you're a perfect example of that. You came to class, you started practicing, you got your power back. It started manifesting in the world around you. People were noticing you stepping into your power. Awesome. And now you're coaching other people to get their power back. It's you're the perfect example of what happens at Coachville. It's beautiful.
Yes. And I'm just going a bit back to your story about how you managed to take that momentum with the video games and build the philosophy of Coachville around the idea that life can be like a video game and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, and that was 20 years ago, where we weren't that connected in the digital world as we are now. But now we are more digitally connected than ever before, and it's only increasing. We're talking about social media, we're talking about video games, streaming, whatever you name it.
Yes.
Why do we need human connection when we have all these things that keep us busy?
that's a funny question. All right. Okay. Yeah. I have some ideas about that.
So
maybe a metaphor. Okay. So the question is, what is better, a strawberry or a lump of sugar? Well, the lump of sugar is going to work faster. And then you're going to have a terrible sugar headache and sugar crash. Whereas if you eat a strawberry, it's delicious. You can savor it. It's going to be fun to eat. And then you're going to get a nice little boost of energy, but no sugar crash because it's natural sugar and it just goes right into your body because humans have been eating strawberries for 1 million years. So it's a natural experience. I would make the analogy then that human connection with a real human in front of you is the strawberry, and social media is a lump of sugar. So it's easier to carry a lump of sugar in your pocket because you can put it in a little wrapper and you can take it with you and you can just get a sugar high whenever you want. But you'll also get a sugar crash, and it will lead to a lot of long-term problems like diabetes and other serious problems if you eat too much lumps of sugar. So the idea is that human connection is the natural thing that we actually crave, and social media is the quick fix, but it's not the real thing. So that's why we keep going back. It's addictive, just like lumps of sugar. It's like you get the energy, but no satisfaction because there's no nutrition in a lump of sugar. There's nutrition in a strawberry. You have other vitamins and minerals that your body needs in a strawberry. Lump of sugar is just the quick fix, but there's no sustenance in there. You can't live off of lumps of sugar. So the idea is that that's social media is lumps of sugar. It's accessible, it's quick, it's addictive, but it's not the real thing that we need. So I believe that, especially now with AI amplifying the toxicity of the online social spaces, that I believe humans are going to start going back outside and go for the real human connection. You know, this is the thing with the social media platforms it was a good idea. Like it is pretty awesome to be able to connect with your friends from around, wherever they've moved in the world and stay up to date with them and things of that nature. So the original idea was pretty good, but like many things, it took a wrong turn, right? And it's become, it's become highly toxic just because our culture is toxic. Because of the way we live, we live in this state of control and neglect and obedience, which is dehumanizing. So if you take a bunch of dehumanized people and put them on a platform, the odds are a lot of toxic stuff is going to come through. So that's the trouble. Now, what happens though, when people meet face to face, there's still the possibility of toxic behavior, in face to face connections. But when you're face to face with people, there's something about our human nature goodness inside of us that has a more natural flow. When you're face to face with someone, you're more likely to be kind because they're right there. Whereas on social platforms, you can be a bully and get away with it. So people are hurt. So they're hurt people hurt people. That's the way trauma works. Not always. When you're traumatized, there's two possibilities. You can become hurtful, which is most of the time, or you can transform into post-traumatic growth, which is possible, right? That's possible. People who are in coaching have experienced that kind of transformation. Like, yeah, I've been traumatized, but I was able to rise above it through help with other people, through co-creation, through coaching, safe space. I transcended those experiences, and now I'm passing it on. So that is the possibility. With coaching, we can lift each other and restore our human connection skills. And like I said, when you can coach someone and create the safe space and they can restore their human connection skills and bring that to the people around them, then it's people want real human connection. So I believe that we crave real human connection. I believe if they have a way to get it, they will. And that's why I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that with coaching, we can uplift the human family back to the level of human connection that we all crave and deserve, really.
And
So I think if we can use online spaces just as a catalyst to connect face to face, then that will be its best purpose.
okay, and you have mentioned human connection skills, and I know that at least in the human connection transformation coaching, we talk a lot about these skills. But
Yes.
if you would just list a few of these human connection skills that are the most important ones that we need in order to get back to that real meaningful
Yeah.
connections that we crave, what would you
Yeah,
name
yeah.
them? Which
It's
would
good.
be?
It's such a good question. All right. Well, I will share with you. They're actually skill sets, but there's 6 of them that I like to talk about. And I think this is a fascinating topic. Okay. So I'll just share with you the basic idea, the way I discovered it. So I coached so many people, over 1,000 people. And over the years, when you're coaching people, you eventually ask them, they have some goal, some dream. Then, I started talking about dreams, and it was always business or leadership or something of that nature. And then I would eventually ask them, what do you really want? And 90% of the time, they said the same one word: freedom. Everybody wants freedom. And then the second most popular word is friendship and connection and love, like something in there. And then the third most popular word is purpose. So people are craving freedom, friendship, and purpose. Now, I used to think of these 3 things as things. Like freedom is this thing I'm going to help my clients get. Okay, I'm going to help them get freedom. I'm going to help them get some friends. I'm going to help them get their purpose, right? And it's just in the last few years, it suddenly dawned on me that these 3 things are actually skills. Freeing is a skill. Friending is a skill. It's a skill set. Purposing is a skill set. So what I was doing by accident was helping them develop the skills of freedom, and then they could have freedom. The skills of friendship and the skills of purposing and dreaming. Those are skill sets that you can practice. So freedom is a skill set. The skill set has a few different things, like choosing your adventure every day. Like that's a skill. Like, oh, what do I really want to do today? Self-determination, like tapping into your inner knowing, like what's really best for me to do today? And then self-trust, that I can make that choice. I can trust myself to know what is best for me. Those are skills that you can practice. Friending is a skill of choosing companions who are the best companions for my dream right now? Who do I align with? Who am I energetically connecting with? Who do I, co-creating is a skill set. Like, who do I really have this magical co-creation with? And how do we do it? And that's a skill. And then caring, collective care, and empathy. These are skills of friendship that we can practice. We can practice feeling what the other person is feeling and responding to it. And it's actually an awesome coaching skill, but it's a friending skill. Like, you're talking with someone and you're really feeling them, and you say, hey, I'm really noticing something here. What's happening with you? Or I'm feeling this. Is that what you're feeling? But you have to feel it. You have to care enough to ask. You have to co-create some understanding from that. So that's a skill set of friendship that we can practice together. And dreaming is trusting your own desire. What is the direction for my life? What do I really want to do with my life right now in the big picture? And having enough, like you talked about, self-worth, that you are worthy of this dream. Like, that's a skill. Developing your own inner worthiness for your own dream is a skill set you can practice. So I kind of put them into these bigger categories of freedom, friendship, and purpose, or freedom, friendship, and dreaming. But those are the skill sets, the first three that I talk about. And then those are like the individual skills. And then there's cultural skills, which are becoming, belonging, and believing. So becoming is the skill set of choosing what you want to get good at. What do you want to express? Self-expression is a skill. Practicing is a skill. Recognizing what other people value is a skill. And then belonging is a skill set. Finding the people who really enjoy you, seeing what people need, and then trying to get good at that for them because they're going to value it. Like, people feel they don't belong, but it's because they don't have the skills of belonging. Belonging is a skill set. It's not a thing. It's a skill. And then it's the same thing with belief. People say, oh, I want confidence. Well, confidence is self-belief. It's belief that you can do it. Well, how do you get the belief that you can do it? You practice, right? You practice believing that you can do it, right? So believing is a skill set. Choosing beliefs that align with your dream, that's a skill. Noticing your beliefs and saying, oh, I used to believe I need to do everything myself, but that belief's not really good for my dream anymore. So I need to let that belief go and come up with a new belief. That's a skill. Noticing beliefs and choosing new ones. And so becoming through self-expression and practice, belonging, feeling valued, and finding your value, believing in yourself. These are skills. These are social, cultural skills that we can practice. So those are the 6. So it's freedom, friendship, and purpose, and then become, belong, and believe. Those are the big picture skill sets that we focus on at Coachville.
And let's say that the people listening to this podcast episode don't have a coach yet.
Well, they better call you up.
But by the time they manage to call me or any of the Coachville students up for that, what would be a simple way that we could practice these skill sets by ourselves? Is there a way?
Well, this is a very good question. So the answer is no and yes. So you cannot practice human connection by yourself. That just doesn't work, okay? But it is a good question that you're making. So the first sort of skill is the skill of observing. And that's the natural human way. If you notice little children, they're always watching. They're watching what the big people are doing, and then they try to do it in their own small way, right? The first skill of human transformation is observing. So what we've done in our Coachville community is we have this program called Get Your Power Back. And in this program, you listen to 12 coaching sessions that I did with someone who's getting their power back. And so as you observe these coaching sessions, you're observing a player getting their power back, you're observing a coach using the techniques, and that gives you the belief, oh, I can get my power back. And I could coach like that. I could learn how to coach like that. So the first thing you can do by yourself is observe someone getting their power back and someone coaching, and you can listen to the player prep audios and start getting the concepts. So that is the first step, actually. And then you think, oh, I really want this. Now you have the encouragement to hire a coach and then become a coach. So that's the idea. So what I wanted to share with you, because you're a Coachville alumni, we have this new, very special thing. So our Coachville membership is $200. It used to be free, but it's not free anymore. It's $200 because there's so much awesome stuff packed in there. However, as an alumni, you can gift it to anyone for free. So I'm going to send you a special alumni link so that you can offer your listeners for them to join Coachville, join the Coachville community for free because they're a listener of yours. And then they can listen to the Get Your Power Back program and get excited about having a coach and maybe becoming a coach if that's the right thing for them.
Wow, that's such a great gift. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. And
You're
I
welcome.
know that all the resources that we have over in the platform at Coachville are amazing, as the people that we can connect to in the platform as well.
Yeah,
So
that's what it is. I mean, transformation, I always say transformation is three things. It's coaching, concepts, and community. So the first thing that's easiest to access is the concepts. Then the next thing that's easier to access is the community. You can connect with the people through the app. And then you add on the ultimate piece is the coaching. But that's the best pathway. First, you get the concepts, you develop self-belief, then you join the community, you feel belonging, you're not the only one. Then you hire a coach and get on the adventure.
And now I have a tricky question.
All right, go ahead.
Do you need to go through a coaching school in order to become a coach?
To become a professional coach, yes.
Mm-hmm.
To be a friendly coach, no. Like you can learn by observing, you can learn by having a coach and get enough of the idea of how it works to coach your friends, as a good friend who knows how to coach. You don't need a school for that. But if you want to be a professional, then I think that requires some higher level of education and practicum and all the things that we do that are part of the certification path. That's what I think. But I think I'm with you. A lot of people can learn basic coaching because it's a human skill set. Coaching is a human thing. It's not beyond our human nature. It's in us. We all know how to practice. It's part of we've been practicing since we were small. We know it's in there. But if you want to practice at a higher level, you go to school. I mean, the best soccer coaches go to soccer academy. The best tennis coaches go to tennis academy. The best voice coaches go to music conservatory. So there's a path to being a professional at something. But if you're just going to be really good and helping your friends and family, then you don't need a school for that.
Thank you. I really love your answer.
What do you think?
I agree with that. In Romania, we do have a lot of discussions when it comes to this, and probably it's a cultural thing that there are a lot of coaches coming up out of nowhere sometimes, and you ask yourself, okay, are they really coaches, or
Sure,
they're just doing something,
sure,
winging it somehow, or
sure.
so it's a big discussion, I think, behind that, but I was really curious on how you see it. And I agree that you can have some natural coaching skills that you
Yeah,
can put into practice without necessarily having a certificate or graduating from a coaching school.
that's right.
But if you want to take things to the next level, then you definitely need to put in the
if
work.
you're going to charge for it, you should get the training. Right?
I agree.
that's what I think. But I've refined my message around that quite a bit over the years, and I think that what I feel is, if someone has the desire, they want to learn how to coach, and they don't have the economics to do one of the fancy certification schools like ours, even though we make it accessible, but still it does require some financial investment. And if someone doesn't have the ability to make that investment yet, and they do something that's inexpensive or quick or whatever, but they have the desire and they start there, I honor that. Like, I honor people doing what they can with the resources that they have. And I also encourage people, as if you do that and you get some clients and you're starting to get some progress, then invest in a higher level of education. That's a normal thing to, invest your way up as you grow and develop your business. You invest your way up. That's a natural process too.
I love that. It's a very, very good perspective to have when it comes to coaching.
That one took me a few years.
It makes sense. It takes a lot of wisdom to be able to get to that perspective, and I totally appreciate it.
Thank you for that.
And I have so many other questions, but I don't want to take too much of your time, so I will put one of them on the table. I remember you saying in one of the live sessions that you hold inside Coachville that in the next few years, 100 people around us will be looking for a coach, and that we should work towards us being the coach that these 100 people are choosing.
Yes, that's correct.
And in my audience, I know that I have a lot of coaches, I have a lot of therapists, psychologists, people consulting, and so on. So I think the same thing applies to all of these service-based businesses. Yeah. How do we make ourselves the coach that these 100 people will choose in the next year? It's
such a good question. Okay. Well, actually, the good news about that question is there's really only a few ways. It's not a million things. It's just a few things. You're going to go out where the people are and talk to them. That's number one. Go and talk to people, because word will travel fast from one person to the next if you're saying valuable, provocative things, right? If you're talking with people and they're like, whoa, that's so interesting. You're talking about human connection and skills, and wow, I'm really interested in that. So that's the first thing. Go and talk to people. The second thing is develop your message, and it can be right from some of our Coachville messaging around human connection and skills, etc., and develop a little talk, a signature talk, and find ways to give your talk. There's people that organize groups, that gather, that offer an opportunity to speak. Sometimes it's quick, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a lunch gathering or whatever. When I started, I was speaking all over the place. I was just talking about life and coaching and transformation. And, this is 30 years ago, but speaking is a skill that you can practice and you can get good at it. So that's another thing. You can also be on podcasts. Highly recommend it, right? Be on podcasts so people can hear you and get to know you through a great conversation. These are the things you can do. So it's speaking, it's going to networking, gatherings, talking to people. And then the last one that's really powerful is to more strategically network and partner with other local businesses. So if there's a yoga studio, see if you can coordinate with the yoga studio to give a talk one day at the studio for free, and they invite all their members, or swapping with, chiropractors and health practitioners and spas. And, I was networking with all the chiropractors because I love having a chiropractor. And then chiropractors are about alignment of your spine, and coaching is about alignment of your life. So it was a good, synergy. And then I would recommend people to get a chiropractor for their life also. So, that kind of human connection in the marketplace, that's the way to do it. There's a marketplace near you. Every place where people live, there's a marketplace. And you just have to get yourself entwined in that marketplace, and that's how people will get to know you. And if you're listening to this right now and you go, oh no, I would never go and talk to a chiropractor about, co-creating something. I say, of course you wouldn't, because you don't have the skills yet. But if you have the skills, then it's easy. Oh no, I would never give a talk at the local chamber of commerce or whatever. Of course you wouldn't, because you don't have the skills. But if you practice the skills, then it gets easier. So all the things that you can do to grow your local business are skills that you can practice. It's not like, oh, I could never do it. Well, you can't do it now because you never practiced. But with practice, you can do it because you're a human. You can grow. So this is the big thing is recognize that all of the skills that you need to grow your local business are skills that you can practice with other people at Coachville and then do it, just like you described doing at your office. Those were skills that you practiced speaking up at meetings and all the things that you did. You did not do those before you came to Coachville, but then you practiced and then you did them. Miracle, the miracle of practice. It literally works every time. All you have to do is trust it and do it.
It's fascinating that one of the things that we do to practice is role plays. And people
Yes.
are so scared of these role plays, but how do I know what to say? And it's, again, some sort of magic that happens because when you get into a role play, you as a coach, for starters, get into the skin of the person you're representing in a magical
Yes.
way. So you start.
Yes.
I had a session with someone and she said, I got an accent while I was talking to you. And I was like, well, I don't know where that came from, but yeah, it happens. And then you get into a discussion that is incredibly accurate without knowing who you are representing in that role play. And
Yes.
you get to push some buttons, because we were talking about pushing buttons on the inside that you didn't
Yes.
even know were there, but
That's right.
it works so well. Even though
It
people hate
does.
them, they work.
Yes, correct. They only hate them the first 5 or 10 times. Then they realize how it really helps, and then they're like, okay, let's do it. Let's do a role play. They'll come around. They come around. But look, the reason it's magical is because playfulness is in our human nature. If you allow yourself to trust it and let it come out, it will come out and it will be magical. Humans have been helping each other grow and practice for 1,000,000 years. It's in us. So we just have to trust that we can trust our human nature and understand that if you're resisting and afraid of it, that's just because in our toxic culture, we squash human nature. So that's why you're afraid of it. But if you just allow yourself to be in a culture or a safe space of practice, your human nature will come back. And that will lead to this kind of inner peace, absence of inner conflict, this inner peace. It comes when you practice trusting your inner nature or your awesome superpowers of human nature. The more you trust them, the more inner peace that you have.
That's beautifully said, and I fully agree with it. And Coach Dave, because it's been an amazing discussion, and I would continue it for hours, but I know you have other things
Well,
to
you're
do
very
as well.
sweet. Yes, very nice
um,
talking to you.
just to sum things up, how would you say we recognize that we're doing the right things towards better human connections?
Wow. I think that's a good question too. I just think that when you're talking with a person, if you just allow yourself to care about them, even if you don't know them yet, just allow yourself to care about this human being that you're talking to and be curious about them and want to know their story. I mean, that's the way humans know. As humans, we know how to develop relationships. We know we've been doing it for 1,000,000 years. We're social creatures, right? So it's just about put yourself in more situations where you're talking to people, trust your care and co-creation with people, and just let it blossom. If you just trust it, and if you are afraid to trust it, which that would be understandable, then hire a coach. Practice with your coach. That'll grow your inner confidence, your self-belief. Then practice it with people around you, and then it'll gradually blossom into human connection.
And just the final one.
All right.
I promise this is the last one.
That's okay. It's okay.
So if people have been inspired by what they heard in this discussion, and I am 100% convinced that they have, where can they find you, and what are you preparing for the rest of 2025 in Coachville, for example?
Yeah, 2025 is all about uplifting our human culture and the profession of coaching. It's all about uplifting with the focus on skill set and mindset. That is the transformation. The coaching I learned 30 years ago was about problems and tasks, and we've been doing it. A lot of people still do it, and there's value in having someone to talk to about your problems and your tasks. But we need a new coaching, and we need a new approach to human potential. And it's all about skill set and mindset. We've got to practice together. And the thing about practicing together is that it's the exact opposite of industrial. You can't scale it. You can't accelerate it. You can't magnify it. It's just human beings getting together, practicing. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes care. And you just got to put yourself into the experience of other people. You can't think, oh, how do I scale this up to make millions? You can't. You can't scale it up to make millions, because that's not our job in life, to make millions. Our job is to do well and thrive by really coaching up a few people. And then they're going to coach up a few people, and they're going to coach up a few people. We don't need any big gurus trying to coach 1,000,000 people, because that's foolish. You can't do that, right? So we got to stop this industrialization that everything is only good if it's scaled up to millions. The way we're going to coach 1,000,000 people is by having 100,000 awesome coaches. That's how we're going to do it, right? We're going to grow coaches. It's not about me trying to be some big 1,000,000-person Tony Robbins thing. If I coach up thousands of coaches, we're going to lift up 1,000,000 people the natural human way, not some industrial nonsense way. So coaching in 2025, human potential in 2025, is about skill set and mindset practice. That's what it's all about.
Awesome. And I know that you have a lot of classes coming up during this year, and people, if they want to become coaches, or at least to increase their skills, upskills themselves, they can join Coachville for sure at any time during the year. So it's not a
Yes,
set
of
time.
course. The first step is I don't like to talk about steps because it's not really a step. The first action is join the community. Use the link that Alexandra's going to provide you. You can join for free, start observing, and then you can join us on a dream activation Zoom and get into the community. And then if you love it, then you take the next steps forward. So just check it out and make sure you love it. And if you love it, which you probably will, then you move forward.
That's amazing. So, Coach Dave, thank you so much for your time, for your inspiring energy, and everything that you shared.
My pleasure. Thank you for being awesome. You're such a good example of coaching. I love it.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to see the feedback that we get on this
Me
premiere
too.
of me
Be-
having an episode in English.
Woohoo!
But I'm sure people will love it. They
And
cannot
also
in any other way.
if someone is listening in English and they want to learn more about coaching in the Romanian language, we do. I actually happen to have an amazing version of Coachville in Romanian, which we can help you find also.
Yes, definitely. And I've been going back and forth into the Romanian classes and back to the US classes and so on, because I will be honest and say that it's kind of addictive to be in these groups and to learn and to connect with people. So we're walking the talk, basically.
That's the good addiction.
Yeah.
Human connection is the good addiction. I recommend that.
Awesome. Then thank you very much once again for
My
your
pleasure.
time.
Yeah,
Have
be
a
awesome.
lovely day ahead.
You too. Bye.
I really hope this conversation stirred something in you. Maybe it was a memory of a dream you once had, or a desire to reconnect with that part of you that still wants to play, still wants to grow, and that still believes in people. Coach Dave reminded us that human connection is more than just a luxury. It's actually a skill. And like any other skill, it can be practiced gently, in a safe space, with someone by your side. That's what coaching really is. So if something in this episode clicked for you and you feel that whisper that says, maybe it's time, I'm here. Whether you're curious about working together or just want to explore what a powerful conversation could unlock for you, let's connect. You can find me on Instagram. I promise I reply to all the direct messages I get. And if you want to explore even more, you will also find Coach Dave's generous invitation to join the Coachville community and get your Power Back program, which I really recommend. You find the link in the description. So thank you for being here for this very first English episode of Tihnă Digitală. And if it resonated with you, please send it to a friend who might need this kind of spark today. Until next time, I hope you find moments of peace, and also I hope you dare to play. Pe curând!